Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic 2024, the result of our Fourth World War. A young survivor named Victor is accompanied in his scavenging by a shaggy telepathic police dog named Blood. They share antagonistic banter as the well-read dog makes nuanced jokes that Vic's unable to understand with his simple wasteland education. The boy just calls him things like dog meat and fuzzy butt while they dig through a buried neighborhood, as each one of these holes are a house. Vic must provide all of their food as Blood's hunting abilities were compromised by the same genetic engineering that makes him such a Weisenheimer.
War is hell.
Their relationship's codependent though, as Fuzzy Butt can sniff out women, but it's slim pickings out here with all the raiders getting to them first. The pair avoid detection and follow a woman sent in through the roof of a house, but the raiders have mutilated her before leaving. Vic's saddened not because of the violence inflicted but because he wasn't able to use the woman himself before they finished her off. His lack of any empathy comes from having grown up as an orphan in this world, so Blood makes the astute observation that Vic's not a nice person. They notice another survivor getting attacked by the same gang, but Blood can't identify any females among them, so I guess that dude is on his own. Continuing their journey, Blood quizzes Vic on the history of World War III, which broke out at the end of the Cold War. He then goes on about the Fourth World War, which took only 5 days before nuclear bombs destroyed everything. We learn that Blood wants to visit the Promised Land, which he says is a farmable utopia on the other side of the mountains. Vic promises that they'll go once Blood finds another woman, and I feel bad for this canine actor who spends the whole movie being yelled at. Sometime later they encounter a slave owner being pulled around on a wagon who must have discovered the location of a food storage. The king-like ruler Fellini orders them to pile into the building and begin rounding up all of the tins of food into a bag. Nobody expects the nearby kid and his dog to do anything, so Fellini tells his pet Ed Sheeran to sing while he goes in himself. This is Vic's opportunity to steal the bag of canned goods and shoot one of the slavers, but he's allowed to escape by Fellini as he likes the boy's courage. A trio of the unseen wearing little paper booties are also impressed by his ability to steal a bag from a child and say to put out the cheese. Since their tummies are now full, Vic and Blood decide to go to a shantytown where survivors line up to pay to shag a woman in her dirt hole. Like everyone else, Vic checks in his guns at the door and pays for admission with a can of beets, as the guard's unable to read and thinks it's peaches. Now the two can't afford popcorn at the outdoor cinema though, so Blood tries to give some stranger the puppy dog eyes, but charity's a thing of the past. While they try to enjoy the film without any munchies, Blood smells a female in the audience, so Vic scans the crowd but doesn't see her. Skeptical but trusting his dog's infallible nose, he goes wandering around the cinema and spots a young woman disguised as a male. When she leaves, Vic follows her but is afraid to go underground at night, as there are rumors of people living there ever since the nuclear war. It's why Vic and Blood live on the surface and only venture under to find food, or in this case stalk a young lady into the massive building. He watches her changing out of her rags and into a dress, which is when our predator decides to leap out and attack her. He's like, take the clothes back off, we're gonna do it on this mattress, but the oddly calm Quilla just introduces herself, throwing Vic off his usual game. That still isn't enough to hold him back, nor did it the last time, as we learn from Blood that this girl's prettier than the previous one.
Pull up your pants, Romeo.
He's come down here to warn Vic that a pack of raiders are approaching, which is when Quilla realizes that the two have a telepathic synergy. She attempts to communicate with Blood herself but can only hear his words as barks, so he politely requests she lower the volume. Meanwhile, Vic lays in wait and ambushes the entering gang while Blood rushes to join in by ripping out one of the wasters' throats. He drags the man's gun over to Quilla to defend herself, then tells Vic that they should just hand over Snow White to the 7 dwarfs so they'll leave. Since he isn't willing to concede the brains of the operation, tells Vic to imitate the sounds of mutants called screamers that are described like irradiated zombies. Most scatter, but the few braves that remain have a dog that Blood takes on in an epic battle that I hope was just these two playing. Vic sneaks around and takes out all of the remaining intruders, and we get a great shot of him mirroring the look of his dog when he gets hands on. When he's about to be shot in the back, Quilla saves Vic, allowing him to finish off the remaining attackers and their damn dirty dog too. Blood's wounded from the fight but takes it better than the hysterical woman, who gets told once again to shut up by a dog. He tells the boy to wave the girl's green skirt around with a flashlight beneath it, imitating a screamer to scare anyone else away. When Vic jumps the now skirtless Quilla again, she must think, oh here we go again, but he's just trying to save her from the real glowy green mutants. We never actually get to see them, as the three hide inside a storage tank, where we get this reaction out of Blood when he's moved. He really doesn't like this girl, who now willingly gets intimate with Vic, begging the question of, would you do it in front of your dog if it could talk?
Breeding is an ugly thing.
The next morning, Vic explains that he's the only person who can understand the dog because he's the only one who loves him enough. Quill is from the underground society and proposes that Vic leaves both the surface and Blood to join her, but no amount of hot is worth that level of crazy. Alright, he does consider it and suggests splitting his time 50-50 with Blood, but he's a dog, so you know how sad that makes him feel. Deciding to choose the dog over the girl, Quilla knocks Vic unconscious and flees while Blood's there when he wakes up with an "I told you." Determined to track her down, Vic follows her footsteps, but Blood warns him that she could just be leading them right into a trap. No one said he had to listen to his brain, so Vic continues until coming across a metal doorway in the middle of the desert. Blood says that he'll wait for a few minutes then leave by himself for the promised land, so Vic says his goodbyes just in case and heads underground alone. The facility contains a series of several long ladders and even longer hallways through an empty fallout shelter full of loud machinery. It all leads to an underground grass field graveyard where Vic's captured by a hulking clown in overalls and given a rub in a tub. Michael's awfully happy to be removing the radiation in front of several gawking strangers before giving the boy a set of identical farmer's clothes. Their humble little clown town is a recreation of rural Midwestern living with picnics in the park and a never-ending marching band. The population wear the stupid face paint to distinguish themselves from outsiders and are governed by the Three Stooges, Craddock, Mez and more. Quilla's made to sit on her stepfather creepy Craddock's lap to explain how she successfully lured down Vic from the wasteland. Her motivation for doing it was the promise of a seat on this clown committee, but they just keep giving her the "you're too young" treatment. Angered by this, Quilla conspires to overthrow the committee with her boyfriend, but in the meantime continues to play the robotic conformist. Soon Vic's brought before the trio by Michael, where we learn about their whole sinister plan to obtain new genetic material from the surface. The whole town's male population sterile, and despite Craddock somehow blaming the women, it's from living underground. This is when an overjoyed Vic thinks that he gets to sleep with a whole bunch of clown-faced women, but the committee have other plans. Moore straps him to a gurney in front of young hotties being married off to old creeps and drains Vic of enough population pudding to impregnate 35 of them. The man stud will be executed afterwards, but Quilla comes to the rescue for her own agenda by knocking out the doctor and priest. Her whole plans to rule this mental asylum and invites Vic to be by her side, but he has finally learned that this is not the kind of crazy he wants to be around. It is however handy when she agrees to let him use her as a human shield to escape the hospital and join her little resistance group. They take him to retrieve his guns, thinking that he'll use them on the committee, but he just wants to return to the surface where he feels at home. Quilla forces him at gunpoint to do it, which seems like she could just do it herself at that point, so he punches her in the face for acting dumb. Vic just wants to get back to his dog, but the Council of Bozos convene right where he needs to cross and begins announcing punishments for the rebels. The most cowardly one steps forward to just accept Michael crushing his head with his bare hands, and I'd say runs down the others, but they don't even bother to move. Once her boyfriend's dead, he then charges at Quilla and Vic, who fires at the very slowly advancing man, but the gunshots have no effect. As they retreat, the bullets eventually bring down Michael, destroying him and exposing him as a waterproof security droid. The committee doesn't even care and just orders another Michael bot to be brought out of storage, which is the last time we ever see them. Vic and Quilla reach the surface and prepare to ambush whoever follows, but after a few minutes realize that nobody even bothered to chase them. Assuming that his best friend went to the promised land, Quilla begs Vic to leave with her, but he looks around some more to find Blood still there. Fellini and his gang took over the settlement, killing everyone that wouldn't join him, so Blood hasn't eaten in 2 days and is on death's door. Quilla tells Vic that she loves him, but that it's too late to save the starving dog, which is when Vicky has what some might call a bright idea. Faced with a grim decision, it's an easy no-brainer, as Vic kills Quilla, cooks her up and feeds her to his best friend. Blood now feels satiated, not that Vic knows what that means, and they leave nothing of the meal behind but torn up pieces of her wedding dress. Finally journeying towards the promised land, Vic's flattered that a woman said she loved him, while Blood jokes that she had good taste. And the movie ends.